everybody.
Hey.
We'll do another section here. We're not sure how many is going to be in this series, but here's another one.
Yes. So this is part 2 of the communication. We're getting a little long on the other one, so we wanted to start a different video.
And if y'all can bear with us, we'll
figure this out.
We'll get better. We'll at least try to stay on topic.
We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. So the second part, I'm going to read it again in case people only are only hearing part 2, I guess. So should I read this?
Just read
again?
that part. Yeah.
I'm just going to read this part again about good communication is impossible without trust. Neither party is going to make himself vulnerable to attack. Very many times your mate is not going to tell you how he really feels about something until he first feels secure in expressing himself. Trust has to be earned. I'm going to stop right there.
Yeah.
Because we read the rest of it in the, you can check the communication part 1 out. But I wanted to talk about this because in our relationship, this was a big issue. And when we reconciled and we were trying to communicate more and just make sure that this is another video, sorry, blah, blah, blah. One thing with communication is do not let anything go until the next day, until sometimes you can decide when the right time to
Unless
bring
you've
something
agreed
up.
on waiting till, if today's
Yes.
not a good day, and I think there's some wisdom in maybe planning
Picking
some
the right time.
conversations. Yeah.
Picking the right time to bring something up. But if it is something that your spouse has done that is bothering you, that is on your mind, that is causing you to act different toward them, or is causing you to, hold back feelings, hold back hugs, hold back kisses, hold back anything because you're a little perturbed and you can't fully be there in the relationship because of this, you need to pick the right time to bring this up, but you definitely need to bring it up and talk it out. And this is my point where I get to talk it out. You have to have a mate, you have to have a spouse that is willing to listen. And this was one of our issues because I think you were always kind of, when I would talk, so I wouldn't say the right words.
Is this confessional?
I guess so.
Are we rolling out a confessional moment here?
I guess so. Sorry, I didn't prepare him for that. But I didn't say the right words in the right way to get across my point. But then in turn, he didn't respond in the correct way either. And so it took both of us, it took a lot of work and to overcome that. I would say now we're great in that area, but it did. We had to work at this and it wasn't easy. But I would always come to you with something, and it was like more of the woman way of doing things. It was more of an attack.
Wait a minute, hold on. What's the woman's way of doing things?
Definitely an attack style, probably. Maybe not every woman. I guess this is just Kelly Bolton.
Was this like B-52 bomber from high altitude, dropping it hot and hard?
Yes, depending on the situation, but some situations,
or was this
yes.
like, pinpoint laser accuracy, sneaking a bomb up your nose hairs? What exactly are you saying is the woman's way of doing things?
Well, I shouldn't say. There's probably other women out there that did it a lot better than me, that have all along. But so speaking for myself, it was more of an attack and a more of, and also not knowing you cannot read your spouse's mind. So you do, even though you think you can, even though you know them well, even though you've spent 50 years with them, even you cannot read your spouse's mind, and sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes you get it wrong.
Hold on.
I'm not saying I'm wrong, but sometimes you get it wrong. So
do you realize
whose idea
this is
was
on
it
video?
whose idea was it to do these videos? I don't know, but I may be finished now.
Did you just say you were wrong
now.
on video on YouTube?
I know, that's crazy. Okay, so let me get to my point.
See, if you'd done this a long time ago, I might have been more willing to do some things a long time ago, and we might not have ended up where we were.
Yeah. So I had to. The thing is, I had to make sure that I came to him with my concerns, with my problems, with not as an accusation, because a lot of times I would come to him with an accusation, and then he immediately got on the defensive mode, and he would shut down. Because if you've dealt with your husband at all in this area, you will know that if you come at him with an accusation, and whether it's right or wrong, whether you're right in it or not,
an accusation can be fully truth, but it could also just be an assumption.
Yes, the way you come about it is shuts him down. It shuts him down, and I didn't realize that. So then I would get mad. So he would get mad and upset by my accusation or my anything.
I would become recluse. I'm like headed wherever I need to go to get some relief.
Whether it was an accusation or a comment or anything, if it was something that he thought that I was unhappy with, it would shut him down. And so that was no way to communicate. It was not healthy. So he had to realize that I'm not going to, if I know that he is going to get upset about something that I have to say that has made me upset, I'm going to pull back. I'm not going to communicate with him like I should. And when I think of something or when something upsets me, I'm going to hold it in. And we all know that when you hold things in, it turns into resentment. And resentment over time is not good. So I guess you can talk about how you maybe changed the way you
But hearing you say that,
responded.
It really, from my position now, and not being such a knucklehead, that kind of hurts me to hear you say that you would not say certain things, but in other areas, it's like you needed to go ahead and gouge my eyes out. And
true.
I mean, I can hear you say that now. I couldn't hear you say it then because I was not in a position of maturity to hear it. And I get that's my fault. And what I'm saying is that's not all, that burden is not all on you. That burden is also on me for being a baby and not being able to handle it, being able to hear it.
Whoa. Did you just say you were a baby on YouTube? Sorry, I had to point that out. Okay, go ahead.
So I mean, anybody knows me knows I'm a baby. I mean, that's nothing new. But
how were you able to? I don't know how our conversations went. I know we just had a lot of these books and
we talked
a lot of
then.
conversations. But how did you change that to respond differently?
I want to communicate.
Did you finally realize? Did it finally hit you that I was not going to communicate if I didn't feel the trust and able to communicate? Which I feel like this is what this paragraph is talking about. Is that did you realize that I wouldn't communicate? And so what made you change how you responded?
I guess in the fact that if I want to be able to communicate to you, if I want to be able to come to you in a better position now, more mature of mind, and with years of regret and years of anguish in my head, if I want to come to you and have a serious conversation, I guess the difference is at that time, I really wasn't vested in hearing what you had to say on something I needed or something I wanted to communicate or something I felt was important, because at the time, it was just...
Selfishness, maybe? Maybe the I, because I just heard like 10, 15, it all goes back to selfishness, like our video on denying self. Go ahead.
What if I lost my train of thought? I'm not the same person I was.
No,
that's obvious.
You're not.
But I want. Yes, it's a selfish desire of mine to communicate better, because if I'm willing to stick it out to hear what you have to say, then you'll be willing to stick it out to hear what I have to say.
Right.
And it's not that what I have to say is so, monumental that it needs to be etched in stone. It's that it's how you do things. It's how you communicate. And I was so blinded to that before because I just didn't want to hear the griping, the complaining, the murmuring, the fussing, you know better, you should do better, you should this, you should that. It just really irked me, to be honest with you, to hear, here we go again, I hadn't done something else right. And I think instead of it going back to selfishness only, I think it also goes back to the ego. That sounds my phone.
But you do have to, saying the whole griping and all of these things, that too was my fault, and I've changed that. I would like to say that I've changed that in
You
that
have.
it's not that I walk around griping or complaining or
Well,
constantly
we
saying
also
things
don't
that
have
you've
3 little children in the house. We also don't have. People talk about caregivers. I'll go ahead and stick this in there, and for those of you men who have wives who are taking care of little ones, their conversations are directed 100% at little ones 90% of the day. Their time, effort, and energy is on dedicating their life for 5-10 years on wiping noses and butts and cleaning diapers and picking up clothes and you know, tripping over toys and digging the gunk out of sippy cups and all the things that mommies do. And men still do what men do even after the kids are mature. After the kids grow up, men are still doing the men thing, you know. We still get up, we go to work, we do what we need to do, we go work on the car, we go fix the tractor, we go bale the hay, we go do whatever we got to do. But in the meantime, a woman's life actually gets to change a little bit. So when you're sitting there saying that you've changed the way that you communicate to me, it may be because there's not as much of a load on you in that kind of a respect to where it's not frustrating you as badly because you're not getting the help you needed. Because at the time, you were the be-all, do-all. And I was the one who was providing, and I was working 2 jobs, and I was can to can't, and I was doing everything I could possibly do. But in the meantime, that still didn't fix that your plate was running over too. That still didn't fix, you know, when you came to me to vent your concerns and frustrations and needs, I was taking it from a totally different perspective because I was full of it. I was tired. I was exhausted. My plate was full. So it's almost like at this hard transition of life, you really do need some time and some teaching and some patience and some guidance to realize that, hey, you can very quickly burn your relationship. You can burn it to the ground if you're letting your frustration become your relationship.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. I have to say, it doesn't matter what stage you're in life. You can have frustrations about anything.
Sure.
Whether your kids are little, or you're dealing with teenagers, or you're dealing with young adults like we're dealing with now. It doesn't matter. Not that they're a big frustration. I'm just saying it doesn't matter what's going on. And you know, we were dealing with this.
I like how you just took and cleaned up everything I just said, and like it.
No, but at the first of the video, I said this was something that we were even dealing with when we reconciled. So this was an issue that when we sat down and I actually realized this and came to terms with this type of communication and the problem that I was having and my fault in this, and the way we were communicating after we got back together. We have definitely had that problem before, but I realized this when we got back together. And
What made you realize it?
Realized that I was coming at you.
What made you realize you needed to change your style?
I think by your response to what I was saying, I realized that I could see the hurt. I could see the emotions and the hurt in your face when you thought that I was upset at you for any reason. So I think a lot of husbands, they don't know how to express it, but I think a lot of men, a lot of husbands, all they want is to make their wives happy. And they don't really care. They just, they don't care to change, but sometimes they just don't know how.
You can't change under that kind of pressure, though.
And they want to make their wives happy. So when you come to them and you are upset about something, they immediately panic because a lot of times their number one goal, is to keep their wife happy and satisfied.
I don't know a husband out there that's not at least one of the priorities of his day.
Right. So I saw the hurt. I saw the panic. I saw the emotion in your face when I came at you about something, and just the panic, and that it didn't matter what it was. It was just, oh no, she's unhappy with me. What have I done? And so it was kind of, I had to step back and self-reflect and, okay, what am I doing in this situation? And then, so that kind of, I actually saw the pain on your face for me coming at you like I was. And then we talked about it, And then we talked about how, you know, I would pull back and not talk like I should. And so we just had a lot of communication talks and read a lot of books. A lot of these books, the first books we ever read, talked about these things, and it helped us.
Well, I will say that we have spent a lot of time talking. And how else can you reconcile a relationship, whether your relationship was dissolved, whether your relationship is on the rocks, whether your relationship is, you know, taking a few blows, you know, taking some injury. How do you reconcile and fix anything without honest, trust, talk? I mean, how do you really fix that? And I think we've done a lot of that. And even, I mean, even sitting right here today on this video that's just sitting over there running while we're talking, I mean, I'm hearing things today that I hadn't heard before. And I mean, it's painful. It's painful to hear some of the thoughts that are going through your head that were my fault. But it's even more painful for me to hear that those thoughts were going through your head and I didn't help. You know, it's one thing to know that that you have these emotions and you have these feelings and you want to communicate, and I'm just being stubborn. It's another thing. It's a totally different perspective to see it from the avenue of you were hurting and I wasn't willing to just stop and lend you something, lend a hand to help you, just a shoulder to cry on, whatever, because I was so caught up in the moment that it was making me react. I mean, that's pretty sorry. I mean, it is. It's pretty sorry that we get so caught up in ourselves.
But that's why we're doing these videos, because I'm sure that there are a lot of men out there that do the same thing and have this issue. We haven't even talked about what happens when you come to me and tell me that there's something you don't like about me. Or there's something I've done.
When have I done that?
There's something I've done.
Have I done that?
Is it just that you don't do it? Is it just that I don't do anything that upsets you?
I think men are built a little different from women. I think men.
That's true.
I think men are like, hey, you know, the sun come up this morning and we're both smiling and happy, and you know, I tiptoe around to keep it that way.
Oh, that is so not true. That's so not true.
Oh man.
Oh, we're supposed to be honest in these videos.
Well, the sun did come up this morning. I do want to keep it that way, but I enjoy the fact that we, you know, one of our friends watched some of these videos and the comment was actually made, you look happy. And
that's a big comment, a big compliment.
Yeah. Because it true happiness can only come from the right relationship. And that's in the Beatitudes. Just study Matthew chapter 5 through 7 in depth, not read it, study it. Go back and take the Old Testament journey that Jesus was taking the people on when he brought those things up. But happiness is something that can only be achieved within. But that within has to come from the relationship that's under consideration. And, you know, you make me happy is a comment that you hear a lot of times, and truly we are, I think, happy. I mean, I really do. I feel confident that you're happy. I know that I'm happy. And happiness is something that is sought after and rarely achieved because we seek after it in the wrong ways. We don't seek after it from communication and contribution and you know, consolation and all the other things that bring forth that true purity of happiness. It's so oftentimes to us materialistic. And
we'll have to do another video on happiness. That's a good video. Good topic to have. It's happiness. But one thing I will say, I know I just totally cut you off.
It's all right. I'll get you back.
Well, I'm trying
Do
to
you
keep.
feel bad about it?
No, I'm trying to keep you on topic. So,
Oh,
one
you're
of
trying
the,
to say pause that, pick it back up when we get to happiness.
yes, but one of the things
But
I would like to
happiness
say
is part of
before we.
communication.
It is, but there's so many things that we could talk about communication. That could be like 50-part videos because there's a lot of things on communication. But one thing I will say to the women is make sure that you do not hold anything back that you are feeling that has happened that has upset you with your husband, and
But
call-
don't
and
present it in the wrong way either.
don't present it the wrong way. Lovingly pray about it. Like I said in the other video, first of all, pray about it. Pray about how you need to, when the time is right, and how you need to talk about it with your spouse. But after that, you do need to get it. And there's some things we've realized too. There's some things that might come up in our minds that bother us at the time, and we may act a little different for, say, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes. It depends on what it is and how long it takes us to get over it.
Are you alluding to traumas and triggers?
Traumas and triggers, yes. I know I'm getting off. Well, that's kind of communication, but there are times when
Your brush is broader than mine, though.
yeah, I can yeah.
You can get away with it.
There are times when that comes up in our days, and we can get over it. 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. And it's something that you don't need to bring up. It's something that you just need to deal with yourself. But if it is something that continues on and you keep thinking about it and you need to talk about it, and it is causing you to act different toward your spouse, please do not do not go to bed and even sleep on it. I wouldn't even recommend doing that. Take some time at the end of the day, pull your spouse aside in a lovingly way after praying about it. And with all the love, talk to them about what's hurt you that day and what's going on in your mind. And hopefully they will listen to you like they should and respond accordingly, and you can get over it, because it's the worst thing in the world to let resentment set up in your heart, and that is one thing that will destroy a marriage.
If your husband pays attention, just like she said a few minutes ago, she could see the pain in my face. If your husband's paying attention, he'll see that. He'll ask. You may not want to answer. He'll ask. I guarantee you he'll ask. Hey, if you have an openness about your communication, your husband will begin to ask you about these things. But when he asks you, don't turn around. Wow, there it is. Cat's out of the bag. Be mindful that when he asks, he's actually in the position to want to know. Now, if you turn around and thrash him with it, he ain't gonna ask next time. He's gonna be like, all right, she's over there all.
And a lot of times he already knows. Let's
He
be
already
honest.
knows.
Let's be honest. A lot of times he don't.
If he's in tune,
But a
he
lot
knows.
of times he already knows what you're upset about. And if you get to a point to where you're so in tune that you can read each other's minds almost.
You said a minute ago you couldn't read each other's minds.
Well, I did, didn't I? Well, I said almost. If you can almost read each other's minds. I'm just saying, don't jump to conclusions thinking you know what your spouse is thinking, when there's a lot of times you could be wrong in that instance. But when you get to a point to where you're very connected, and very, very joined at the hearts of each other, there will be times to where he knows what's wrong, and
especially
he knows,
if he did it.
well,
if he did something that he knows he shouldn't have done, or something like that. Yeah, if it's something that has to do with an outside source and you're upset about it, he's a whole lot more likely to ask than if he thinks it's him.
But there's times where he will know what's wrong, and if it's a trauma, a trigger, and he knows that possibly you just need some time, and so he doesn't ask, and he just waits.
But have you talked about
patiently
traumas and triggers?
to get over it? Now,
Do
that's
couples
another-
even know this? Do couples
that's
even
another
know
video.
how to say, hey, from my past, from my experiences in life, there are some things that are awfully traumatic for me. And there are tons of things that are traumatic for people. It doesn't have to be some heinous event that has traumatized you. It could be something as painful as parenting. It could be something as painful as your best friend, doing something that hurts your feelings. It can be all kinds of things. But if it's a trauma or a trigger that's putting you back into a ruminating position to where you can't get it out of your head, some of that you need to work on, like you were saying a while ago. But some of that also, that's where the spouse comes in and tries to ease some of that away. And hopefully that will help. What are we getting notes on?
I'm making a note of the things that we need to make videos on.
Oh, I thought you was fixing to write me a note that says hush.
I knew that he was starting to panic. See there? Did you see that panic?
You could was that real life captured? That I was thinking, uh-oh.
No, but I knew your voice, you kind of slowed down.
But you see, fellas, how I ask, what's the note about? You know, if you sit down at your kitchen table and your wife's over there writing on a piece of paper in a notebook, if she's got a notebook over there that thick that you ain't seen a bit of it, you might want to ask what's in it, because that thing may be your whole life story, man. It might be everything. You might get back. Kelly's grandmother used to say, you're getting hysterical. Sometimes women get historical. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, definitely.
You could go back and pull up 100 years worth of stuff on me, couldn't you?
Yes, easily. It's in a little part of my brain over here, wherever, I don't know where this memory is, but yes, just pull it. I can just pull it out. I'm just talking about the part of your brain that controls the memory. He's over there. See, I know what he was doing because I know him so well. He was going to critique what I just said about the memories in the brain, and
I'm not going to critique anything you're going to say. That's not appropriate on videos.
Okay, so we're at like 27 minutes. Oh, 27. 27 is our number, so.
You're not supposed to tell that.
Oh, sorry. We're at 27 minutes, so we're going to end this video, and we
That's
will.
a red-tailed hawk. No, that's a osprey.
It's beautiful out here.
They call those a sea hawk. It's not an osprey. Look, it's going to that nest right there.
It's lovely. They can't see that.
Nope.
Okay, so we'll see you next time.